Tarek, how did you get involved in the film?
And before I knew it, he sat me down and done a 7-hour interview with me on film about the history of the world and the United States Empire, with only breaks for water, both drinking and passing. And then after that, we discussed this film, and they had a rough cut already. And I saw it, and it wasn't appropriate. It was too concentrated on the bulk of the American media, and I said it had to be. I had suggested that it should be changed, and that the best way of doing it was to make it into a political road movie by playing to the strengths of the film, which was a radical Hollywood director who got fed up with watching the stuff he does on his own networks, goes and finds out for himself that that worked. It's a very simple idea.
And in terms of, you've produced, I think, all of his documentaries. What were the particular? And Oliver just said it was made quickly. What were the particular challenges of making this from a producer's point of view?
Well, basically, to put together 7 presidential agendas within a week, it's a little bit complex. So it was pretty challenging, the organization. It was like a little bit like Spine and Tap, like a rock and roll band going from tour and tour and tour and tour. And Mr. Stone is someone who has a high energy and very prepared in each case. So it was quite complicated, but we managed it, and it was part of the film.
And how difficult was it, Oliver? I know the question for you, but how difficult was it to gain the access, to get to Chavez, to get to these presidents in that concentrated period?
Oh, listen, Hugo Chavez, I met him in 2007 on the hostage rescue issue, which had been aborted by Uribe's behavior. But I liked the guy. He was straightforward, he was warm and effusive. He said, come back, and Fernando was there doing a shooting around him and getting to know the change. Fernando had this enthusiasm. He said, Oliver, you gotta come down. Latin America's never been like this. He's been through the Argentine dirty war. He says, there's something going on in this whole continent. It's different. I said, look, I got other things to do. I had I had Wall Street, I had Pinkville, I was doing the secret history. I'm not gonna get involved in all that stuff. And then he said, please come down. I have to do it because he's producing my other movies. So I went back down in 2009 and I got conned by this guy. He's great. He's always getting me in trouble. From Castro to Gaddafi to whatchamacallit, Ramallah, where was that? Arafat. Chasing Arafat in the Middle East and running into the Israelis at Ramallah. There was always trouble. You get his call, it's like, Alec Guinness and our man, don't take the call. But anyway, he got me down there, and I love Hugo and his group, and he's such a man. And they put me on a plane, and here we go, and it was fun. Every one of those presidents has a wonderful energy, and it was great. And where else do you need an Indian like that as a character, as central casting? Evo Morales, reminds me of Benito Juarez, Poor Mexico, so far from God, so close to the United States.
Well, were you surprised, and were all of you surprised at that? Because it comes across, obviously, you edited and put this together this way, but the unity between them is much greater than what divides them, and that's quite shocking in that region. Were you expecting it to be, because the film's has a positive and an optimistic feel.
In this country, what you see in the United States, I don't read all the magazines that Tariq reads and knows all this. It's just a gigantic continent with all these different cultures. One never thinks about it being as a unified movement called UNASUR or Contador. It's become evident after you see this movie that they have goals that are similar. Not always in agreement, but in America, the United States, that we pick them off. Every single leader who comes along gets basically removed if he goes too far, whether it be the 1954 Guatemala, or Allende in Chile, or Torrijos in Panama, or the Sandinistas. They get knocked off, and Castro is the only one. And I admire him. Not always for some of the things he does. It's a tough job, and he's in a war. But I admire him because he stayed alive and he stayed free for his way, the best way he could for 11 U.S. presidents. Raul's something else. I mean, that guy's tough.
Yeah.
can sense his iron. Now, a lot of people, but that's not the way these guys are doing it. They were all democratically elected and transparently so. That's what makes it. We can't stick a finger in their eye and say they're bad guys, and that's what our press is doing, because the elections were transparent and they were monitored by international groups, and they changed and they got their economies back to the people, and that's also a World Bank statement, and that is not my propaganda, which people accuse me of. This is an amazing change in their economies in each of these countries. Not without problems, but amazing reform.